Hey guys, welcome to Currently Cringing. We're having an emergency podcast. We were discussing this. We've been discussing this. Me and Ditz, welcome.
The group chat's just been blowing up the last 1, 2, 3 weeks, and it's just basically you sending a bunch of TikTok videos and me sending a bunch of tweets, and then a few of our friends commenting every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, it's been nonstop. We keep saying we're going to wait till November and then discuss again, but things just keep happening. We can't keep up. Before we really dive right into this, because there's so much to discuss, I want to say that you, Aditya, to the listeners, Aditya is one of the smartest people I know. Otherwise, we wouldn't be friends. I really like to surround myself with people that are way more intelligent than me and way more successful than me. And I want to put that out there before we get into it.
Oh, that's so kind of you, and I
But
guess
it's true.
that includes your husband and
Yeah,
others.
my husband's obviously I wouldn't have married him is very brilliant. We surround ourselves with intelligent people. I think we're in interesting times and we're going to keep this fair. Okay, neither of us are ride or die for any one party. We are not signing our lives away for any politician. We are keeping an open mind and I have voted both ways. I know Aditya, you and your family are mainly Democrats for the most part.
Yeah, I used to work on the Hill when I was in college in DC for a bunch of like very moderate Republicans, but that was like when the Republican Party was very different, like closer to that sort of Reagan era of Republicans, and that was back in like 2009. So it was like a different 08, 09 was a different time. And I think over the years I've slowly moved away from the GOP and I'd say like full on was in with Biden in 2020. But I'm kind of just over all of it. It's not even about the parties. It's this whole thing has become reality TV, and it's embarrassing as an American.
Absolutely. That's what I wanted to say. The reason we thought let's just record this because there are a lot of people thinking the same thing that we're thinking. And I do differentiate MAGA and Republican. They're very different. And I don't know what the Republican Party is turning into. I myself have a lot of old school Republican friends, family, and they don't act like the MAGA people. So I don't know anyone in my life who is MAGA.
And also, this is not to like make fun of MAGA people because MAGA people are just one side of the same coin. The other side is the super, super left. And I just feel like both sides of the ultra lib and ultra MAGA, they're both creating these problems. And I think one thing that people liked about Biden was that he was sort of like a little more central. And like, take Mitt Romney, for example, like he was seen as a kind of a right wing guy like 10 years ago or whatever. And now the Republicans are like, oh, this guy's so lib, right? And a great, that's not a great look for where we
Absolutely.
are.
I was watching an old debate from George W. Bush Sr. and they were doing a town hall and the one of the audience members was like, well, illegal immigrants, the same topics, like illegal immigrants coming into our country. Imagine this was like 50 years ago. And, why are we giving them education? And George Bush Sr.'s answer shocked me actually. He said, well, I don't want any child in America living here and not having an education. And it's so different from what you hear now, right? It's like build the wall and all of this, but we're not going to get into all of that.
Well,
We're just going to
I,
talk about the facts.
I think I think the best segue here is like I feel like you can see it from the debate a month ago or whatever it was, which is when all this craziness started, and you can get into the timeline. And I felt like that was just a continuation of 4 years ago. It's just the utter lack of respect that both sides have, and there's no respect now between the two sides, and that speaks to a larger issue I have with the two party system in America, where like this is not what the founding fathers wanted, two parties, right? In fact, for the longest time, there were three parties, or there was like a third large party where maybe got 20 or 30% of the votes. You had people that work together, and now it's just become one or the other, and it's gotten to the point. I was at a party earlier talking about this, and it's like just because I'm not voting for your candidate doesn't make me a bad person. Or in my case, I'm not voting for anyone. It doesn't make me a bad person. It's like why do people care so much? And that's the problem now is that everyone gets so offended if you don't vote for their person.
Absolutely. I agree. And I do want to point out, me and Aditya, we are the last people who are voting for anybody because they're female or male or Indian. We don't care where you're from. And we're actually two people. We have this in common, including my husband and a lot of people in our friend group. We were the only Indians in our friend groups growing up. So I understand. I went to a Christian school. I have a lot of Latino friends. I have a lot of African American friends, Black Latino, whatever you want to call it. We have a global diverse friend group. So I would say we have a broad view of the world and we've traveled.
Yeah, and I talk to my international friends a lot, and they just see this whole thing as a joke, right? Friends in London and Asia, and they're just like, "What is wrong with you people?" And we've become a laughing stock. Everyone talks about America as a superpower, and it's like, "Oh, here we go again, Trump for the third election cycle in a row." And people didn't want Biden Trump last time. They didn't want Biden Trump this time, and I guess they're not getting one of those guys. And then before you had Trump Hillary, and it's just I remember like the Obama versus McCain and Romney years. I was like, oh, both these. No, I was like, I'm cool either way. Like, I don't know if I was passionate about either, but I was like, I'm fine with either of them. I voted accordingly. You know?
I saw a crazy statistic. This is the first election now because Biden has dropped out where we don't have a Bush, a Clinton, or a Biden. It's insane on the ticket.
Yeah. I mean, that just goes to show you our other favorite topic. It's the boomers and them not giving up power.
The
They just refuse to
boomerverse.
leave. They
They
just refuse
really,
to leave. Like, please retire, and they won't do it unless they're literally on their deathbed. And
and
it's
we've
happened.
discussed this. It's in
It
every field.
happens. It happens in business. It happens in politics.
Healthcare, my
Judges,
husband.
all of them. They just refuse to leave. And yeah, exactly. But it's just one of the many problems. They gotta let younger. This is actually our good friends at Gen X. This is their time. We should get some Gen Xers involved.
Gen Xers
Again.
at least, they're like hitting 50, 60. Let them do something. They might miss the boat. I don't know.
We're at war with Gen X because of things we've discussed in the past on Instagram.
Yeah, silly things, pop star, pop things. But, let's dive right in. Okay, June 27th, let's get down to the timeline. The debate, what was that?
I didn't even want to watch the debate because I was like, oh, not this again. I remember I was out with some friends and we ended up at a bar where it was on, and then we put I guess it was on, but the sound wasn't on. So then we asked for the subtitles, and I was like, I literally did this so I wouldn't be watching this. And then one of our friends, NKP, he just had his phone out the whole time and was like,
Tweeting.
on YouTube watching the live stream. And apparently he was like listening to it and was like, this is terrible. You have no idea. So then by the time I got home, I had to watch the highlights. And it was pretty bad.
I watched it live and I was shocked, stunned, just watching. You didn't know if this was real. And that was when I realized, I'm not voting for Biden. I don't care what happens. I'm not voting. I didn't say I was going to vote for Trump, but I can openly say I wasn't going to vote for Biden after that debate. And I think a lot of people felt that way. And you saw that in, the fundraising. They were running out of money and no one
Yeah, but
else
I think
giving money.
it's okay to say you're not voting for Biden or Trump. I'm like, for me, it's like, am I gonna vote at all? Do I care? Third party, even RFK? Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I just feel like everyone should be entitled, and these are your choices. I don't think it's fair that you should be forced to vote for someone because the other guy's even worse. And that's what it's become. I especially we live in states where it doesn't really matter. Which is funny because Florida used to be a state that mattered. But that's the other thing. I don't care for this stupid electoral college thing for many reasons, but also, why does it matter what I vote anyways?
I mean,
So
your vote matters. No one's going to like you saying that. So your vote matters. I'm just going to say that as a PSA disclaimer. But I'm from Florida, deep red. my vote doesn't matter either.
Right. Everyone's vote matters, but like in reality, we're in this weird system where like the state you're in is predetermined, right? I think all the people in swing states should always vote and vote for whoever they want. So I don't know. That's
Or
just me.
Hillary Clinton, we all voted, won the popular vote and she wasn't the president. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. So the popular vote is irrelevant. The Democrats are going to the popular vote every year and it's not going to matter. So,
So
uh,
what do you think
but
happened
yeah,
at that debate?
after that debate, people asked him to drop out of the race. That was in June, and that
I'm saying his
was
condition. Do you think he's got dementia, Alzheimer's? He's got something that was
I think
not.
yes, I think he has Parkinson's. That's at least what my rabbit hole Reddit Twitter research has showed me.
Do you think he had it in 2020? We're hearing now from insiders on the internet that he was in this condition even in 2020.
I can't really speak to that. I just feel like you can see the decline, and part of it is it's not that surprising. It's like he's in his, 80s now, or he was in his late 70s when he started, and you look at younger presidents and how they aged, right? The Obamas, the Bushes, and that was at a younger age, and it's a pretty stressful and difficult job. But for Biden, it's like you're at such an advanced age. He probably went from being a 80-year-old to a 95-year-old in terms of health, right? Because it's that taxing. And I think that goes to another point that everyone agrees on is that we need age limits and term limits and things like that, Like we shouldn't be having these geriatrics. I think everyone can agree. Both, funny thing is before everyone was yelling about Biden's age, now Trump's age, right? Like they're both way too old.
Absolutely. So on July 2nd, Representative Lloyd Doggett from Texas, he urged Biden to end his bid. And that included about 30 other Democratic lawmakers. And do you think Biden, this whole thing of Biden wanted to stay, he wasn't going to give this up, or he doesn't know what's happening? And maybe there's powers behind him and he's just the puppet.
Yeah, that's another theory. I mean, the question is who's the puppeteer, right?
Well, I'm
Everyone's
hearing it's the Clintons and that there's two factions. There's the Obamas and the Clintons. That's what we're seeing as conspiracy theories online.
Yeah, I mean, we love a good conspiracy theory. Either way, it's not great that all these people are still kind of in power when they should be retired. That's exactly why people like Trump got elected is because of these theories and these views that the liberal elites, or what we want to call them, are running this country. Like no one wants this to be like, some old school monarchy where it's the same people always in power.
And it seems like it is. It's just disguised as, a democracy.
So like as bad as Trump is, Trump was created by this type of attitude, right?
Absolutely. And by the way, I've mentioned this and a lot of people didn't like it. I have actually met Donald Trump 3 times because he plays golf in my neighborhood in Florida. I met him the first time before he was president and he was awesome, super nice. The next 2 times I met him were post presidency. Again, really nice. And I think, the mistake the Republicans made this time around, which we'll get to, was going with far right, extreme right MAGA kind of JD Vance. And now they're kind of effed, excuse my French. Like he should have
But
gone
here's the
with
thing:
water.
we have no idea who is F right now because we don't even know what's happening. We're still figuring it out.
We're still figuring it out. And every 30 minutes we get a new update. It's kind of wild. I just got the update from Kamala HQ 5 minutes ago that now she's saying she's pretty much the nominee. So does that mean is anyone else going to run against her? Is this a democracy? I feel like this was kind of hijacked.
I just feel like no one even knows the rules anymore because like people are debating each other on Instagram and Twitter and X, being like, yeah, like you voted for Biden Harris, therefore the Harris part you voted for because other people are like we never voted for her. So I don't know the rules. Apparently, I guess it's fine if she takes over now, but then how does that affect next year, right? Because I guess technically we didn't vote for her for next year. So I don't know. It's a mess.
Well,
But maybe that's part of their plan. We have no idea.
We have no idea. No, I don't think anyone knows. I don't even think they know. But back to the timeline, they're saying that his chief of staff, Jeff Zients, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but July 3rd, right? After the debate, he's still telling everyone in the committee, in the campaign, that Biden's good to go. So what are they hiding here? Who was lying? He's telling everyone he's fine. Meanwhile, he's clearly not fine. He did an unscripted interview July 5th, Joe Biden, with George Stephanopoulos, and he said he was feeling terrible in the debate. I don't know if that was feeling terrible or he kind of lost his mind for a second and maybe the meds didn't come through.
Yeah, I mean, it could be dementia. It could be a bunch of. It could just, he's just like a grandpa, right? Like, we all have grandparents, and they wouldn't be running for office either, right? They just kind of do their own thing.
But I want to ask you one thing. Why even let him go do that debate? Why?
So, I mean, do you want to get into conspiracy theories? Because then
Yeah,
maybe there's
that's what
the
you know
theory
what?
that
You know what, Ditz? Every conspiracy theory has turned out to be true.
there's the theory that because I'm just reviewing all the videos. You send me like 100 TikTok videos every day, and I look at like 10. Uh, One of them was that Biden like kind of engineered this whole thing that he kind of knew, and
Mastermind.
he sabotaged himself to make him look bad, so that instead of being weak and stepping down, he was doing it graciously, right? That's kind of one theory. And then at the same time, it was after the RNC, so that at the RNC, all they did was make fun of Joe Biden's age. So then he steps down, and now who's the old guy? It's Donald Trump.
Trump, like you think it was an all a farce to weasel their way? Because this is kind of weaseling your way, okay? And I'm a liberal, okay, but this isn't really fair.
Yeah, I mean, the other joke everyone's like, it's like that season or the episode of Veep, right? Where that HBO show where like she doesn't actually get elected, but then like she's on the ticket and then she becomes the president because he steps down and then has to run again. It's like we're watching really weird television right now.
A TV show, and The Simpsons strangely predicted this as well. A lot of
Yep.
astrologers, I know we've talked about this, I've talked about it. It's all in the astrology. A lot of astrologers are saying that, well, a lot predicted that there would be an outage, which is what happened with the CrowdStrike debacle. A lot of people said there would be some sort of an assassination, whether it was, I'm not going to get into that, but the assassination attempt.
Should we move along the timeline to that because we haven't even covered that yet?
Yeah, but I'll finish this really quick. They're saying there's not going to be an election, and I think maybe that's true because now we'll get into it. He might pass away while he's in term, and that's why he's not dropping out completely. He's here for the remaining 6 months, and Kamala will become the president, and then there's no election. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways,
Okay.
assassination.
So my thing now is that we've had two straight weekends that have been ruined by the news. Like I was just having fun at a Bastille Day party on the Saturday a couple weekends ago, and we're hanging out and we see the news that Trump, what was it, fireworks and shots fired? Because of course the news, you never know what's real, what's not, and we're all on our phones trying to figure it out. And we're like, oh, he got shot, and then there's all these theories like, oh, did it hit the plexiglass of the teleprompter? Um, and it's just I don't even know what to say anymore. How it even happens. You had the head of the Secret Service who gave probably the worst
Cheadle.
deposition, Cheadle, the worst deposition I've ever seen in a congressional hearing of all time. It was cringe, but I watched like all of it.
But can we agree, regardless of what actually happened, or maybe that is what actually happened, because I don't know anything anymore. We're all watching that at home, and you agree, no one flinched.
Yeah, there was no
That was
one in the
weird.
background, right? There were people in the background. Then you had the whole Secret Service, like the bodyguards, like some of them kind of jumped on him and others didn't. And I don't
And
want to get into
Cheadle's in
more.
the background, not
Oh yeah.
flinching, not moving.
And then just saying, and then you have the whole roof, right? The roof, which was sloped, and she didn't want to put people on the sloped roof, which wasn't even that sloped because it was whatever. She said it was too dangerous. It was a scene, and it's like it was a very blatantly obvious spot. It wasn't like some secret roof that was like hidden by a bunch
And
of trees.
people were pointing at the guy. They were like, "Hey, there's this guy on the roof with a gun," and no one did anything about it.
I mean, it was the biggest security failure I've seen in my lifetime in this country, and no one's going to lose their job. Not the head of the Secret Service, none of the people working there. No one's getting reassigned. But that's DC. That's why people. That's another reason why people are always angry is because there's no accountability. Um, no one can do. Once you're in these positions, an average citizen feels that these people get away with whatever they want.
The rules are different.
Yeah,
So he survived his assassination attempt, and then Biden paused the
I
campaign.
completely forgot. He survived, and I mean, I'm just laughing the whole time because he like fist pumps. Like instead of like going down and having them cover, I'm not not to take away from him because it was as as
Pretty
Zuckerberg would
iconic.
say, it was pretty badass and iconic. But I'm just like, what is this? Like, how did they even let him pop back up before the shooter
Well,
was,
that's the thing. I was
you
like,
know,
how are they letting his head like in view? Like they should be, they should have taken him down and
his
held. I don't know. I found this whole
his
thing to
shoe
be
came
very
off and he's
bizarre.
like, "Oh, I need my shoe," and then he gets up to fist bump and they carry him off the stage.
And he
It
gets
was
his
like
shoe. They let him get the shoe.
you can't make this stuff up. Like this is so strange. But anyways, that was weekend one. This, and I guess in between that and now,
Well,
what
he
like
had
did
that
anything happen?
interview. He had an interview with Lester Holt on
Okay,
NBC, and Lester Holt's like asking him these real questions. And he's used to being like the media darling, and they're now like, WTF, you're too old. Why are you still here? And he's getting aggravated. And then July 17th, he tests positive for COVID, which is still a thing.
I mean
It,
at that point at that point we knew we were in the simulation, and we're like, how weird are things going to get after this? And I don't. We're still in the middle of the simulation because we have some theories and there's stuff that we haven't even thought about that's probably going to happen too.
absolutely. Oh, and part of the simulation was Amber Rose. Forgot that.
So 19th was over the weekend, right? Or no, that was on Friday. And was it the party leaders told Biden he would likely lose an election to Trump? And he said, "I'm not stepping down. I'm not leaving."
Well, yeah, and Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Barack Obama, they're all like, dude, like, leave. I think it was like they're calling this the coup. Is it a coup? What do you think?
I don't know. I feel like there's not enough information. Like maybe. I mean, I love a conspiracy theory. Um, it depends on what you think of the two factions, right? As you mentioned. Um, and also like what their goal is. Like, do they actually think Harris is a better chance than Biden? And also like, is Biden sick? What's his status? We'll get to that later. So we should probably fast forward to Sunday, which is another weekend that was ruined by U.S. politics.
A
Biden
Sunday,
Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m. Biden tweets and puts up an Instagram that he's dropping out of the race, which is interesting because
unofficial,
it's unofficial. There was like a letter that he wrote that didn't have an official seal.
no
His
fake
signature,
signature.
not his signature. Everyone's looked. Um, where is he? Where has he been since then?
Apparently isolating at home, but it's like using the COVID excuse again is not really plausible in 2024.
But he also didn't wear a mask last week after he had COVID or whatever it
Yeah, it's
was.
bizarre.
But he also like you hear like when Kamala today like was out giving some kind of a speech, she and Joe had a call
Yeah, and he
and
was on speaker.
it was like an AI recording basically. It's so freaking weird.
They usually would have him on Zoom. He would address the nation. If a president in this country is dropping out of an election and has been our president, they would address the nation on television officially from the White House. I don't know what's going on. Or at least if you have COVID, okay, from Zoom, some sort of video. This was some fake weird call. I'm not saying it was fake, allegedly. Don't want to get in trouble here, but it was just odd. But
There's a
we're fast
hashtag.
forwarding.
There's a hashtag on Twitter today that's called proof of life because people don't believe there's theories that he's been dead or dying. There's like a whole Weekend at Bernie scenario that's been going on. There's also the scenario that he's just like kind of in a hospice situation and he's giving up various powers slowly to Kamala Harris and then a bunch of the Secretary of Treasury, etc. Um, I don't know what to believe, but I do think that we are going to see President Harris before November.
Why the unofficial letter? Why the weird signature? Why no attention to detail?
I just think because he's incapacitated. I think there are people tweeting that he is dying or he only has so much time left, but also maybe it's just that maybe he's not dying, but maybe he's just unable to do his duties. Maybe he just can't. Maybe something happened. There's that story that happened that in Vegas apparently he hit his head or something, or that there was an incident.
Was
There's
hospitalized.
reports that he's been hospitalized multiple times. That there was a emergency airspace warning where basically it was just Air Force One or Air Force Two, whichever one he was on, and that he's like the airspace was clear for him for medical emergency. Um, so I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't think anyone knows except the powers that be.
And you would think that they would at least use the official seal, use a real kind of looking signature. I mean, we're in 2024. We know how to Photoshop. Okay, we're millennials. What are they doing? I don't know what's going on or why. And
Apparently, also like a lot of the White House people learned as we learned. That's
yeah,
the other thing is that
people in his campaign
on
didn't know.
Sunday, yeah. So you had the White House people, you had the campaign people, and I don't think any of them knew. Maybe the Oval Office people closest to him knew, but like it's very bizarre. And some are saying Kamala's behind all of it. Some are saying that she's a plant that someone else, like you said, the Clintons or
She's
Obamas or whoever.
not planning any of this. She's doing what she's told. I think she's a pawn in this chess game.
Okay. Except no one's winning. We
No
all are
one's
losing.
winning. I did think it was a slam dunk for Trump. And now she's raised $81 million, close to $100 million in 24 hours.
I think the bigger news than her raising money is that all her biggest opponents that would be have all endorsed her, right? Like you had a bunch of the governors of swing states that were up there, like Shapiro and Whitmer, are like supporting her, and maybe one of them will be her running mate, but neither is going to oppose her. So I don't even know who's going to go up against her.
Well, that's what I was asking just as of now, 10 minutes ago. There's a tweet and an Instagram post from Kamala HQ, the official Kamala Harris accounts, that she's saying that because everyone is, on her side, she's probably the nominee. Is that her just saying, it's me, this is it?
I think it has something to do with the delegates who have like selected her, but I don't totally know. I think I'm not sure what presumptive nominee means. I think it's like maybe a 99%. Like the betting markets don't have her at 100% as the Democratic nominee, and we check these markets every day now. Like it's probably my most visited website at
Yeah,
this point.
we go to these sites every day, all day. Trump is still leading.
Oh, that's for sure. That was going to be no matter what. But we were just looking at the Democratic nomination, and I think we now have. I'm looking. Harris is at 92 cents. Second place is Michelle Obama at 5 cents. Hillary
Well,
Clinton at 4 cents.
Obama did not endorse Kamala Harris officially. So
But she also said she's not looking to run.
Michelle
And
Obama said she's done.
right. And Barack Obama, he has not done anything. But to be fair, I think he did say he doesn't want to make it. He wants to make it somewhat democratic, where it goes to the DNC or whatever, and they can kind of. He doesn't want to like put his name behind anything. And like once the delegates have officially chosen her, then he's happy to endorse her. I think that's his way of making it fair, whatever
Fair.
that means.
Yeah, and I think he's like the godfather of the Democratic Party right now. And so if he says something, it's like the word, and he wants to play it fair. And I think it should be fair, but it seems like everyone was told to get in line.
I think also part of the problem is that the money, forget the last 24 hours or whatever, the money raised up until this point for Biden Harris, like no one else can really get that money, right? It's there's so much red tape. I think it's earmarked, so it's easy to just have Harris get that money, and she's on the ticket anyways, and then she can bring someone else on.
Gen Z is going to vote for Harris, I believe. I'm not sure about women and gays.
Yeah, but Gen Z is always going to vote for a Democratic candidate, right? Like for the most part. And the boomers and the older people tend to go Republican, and maybe it's the millennials that will decide this because we have a lot of split votes in our age demo. We have a lot of Republican friends, we have a lot of Democrat friends, we have a lot of apathetic friends. And we're not even including our bubble or outside of our bubble, which is the MAGA and the ultra left, right?
Yeah, and I had
So
friends in the Tea Party as well
yeah,
back then. But I will say that a lot of the people in my circles are not interested in voting, even after the Kamala announcement,
which
because
which is which is my exact point, that not saying you're not voting is nowadays as bad as saying you're supporting Trump, which is just like, man, like it's like leave me alone.
well,
I
all
don't
all
care.
that's happening is people are now made to feel like they have to lie.
Dude, I'm ready to give up my US citizenship so no one can ever ask me again who I'm voting for. I'm serious. Like at this point, like sorry, I can't vote. I'm a resident of, some insert European country.
Yeah. Well, he was last seen, Biden, 5 days ago. And did you see that footage of him coming down the stairs of Air Force One?
Yeah, it was pretty weird.
It
It
was
was very
strange.
slow. It was like a very slow walk.
He was
And I think
even
they like made
balding and confused at times, it seemed.
I don't know what to think anymore. I really hope, no one wants anything bad to happen to anyone. I hope he's doing okay, and my hope is that at least he's like kind of not dying, but just kind of like, in like the grandpa stage of life where he can just kind of like potter around his little house in Delaware. Um, I just wonder what's going on in the stars, which like, this is your world because you've been telling me all these annoying TikTok astrology things
But I've been
that
right.
that we have two candidates. One probably should have died last week, and luckily, he survived by the grace of God, as some would say. And the second one might be dying. So that leads to the other conspiracy theory, which is like someone wants both of these guys out, right? The deep state, all this other stuff. I don't even understand what that means.
CIA, FBI, it's
Well, I
fishy.
mean, that goes back to the whole Secret Service thing. Like, how does anyone let that happen unless it was an inside job, right?
Yes.
I don't
And
know.
the astrologers are saying there's no election. And that would make sense if someone's not alive and someone becomes the president, and then that's
But
it.
there, even if no, but there's still going to be an election, right? Because it's election year. Harris just takes over this term of Biden, which
Yes, but you
ends
see how
on
that's just
January,
gonna
whatever.
lead to her probably just staying there.
That won't happen because then you'll have another January 6th type thing. And in this case, it might actually be valid because then it's like, hey, we're not having an election this year. Because like it's one thing to have someone take over within their party, but to basically say we're not giving up, it's exactly what happened last time, right? Where someone would just, I'm not leaving. But this is an election year. There have to be ballots that are cast in November. So I don't agree. with the TikTok goes that there will not be an election because there's been an election every year since 1776 or every 4 years since 1776. It happened during famine, depression, world wars, COVID, whatever, you know? So sorry, ladies. I think you're wrong.
TikTokers, Gen Z TikTokers.
I think maybe they're interpreting it wrong. I think there is some weird stuff that's happening and will happen. But to say there won't be an election is just incorrect because it would be the first time ever.
Well, this afternoon, today we're now in July 22nd, Trump was tweeting and he says he wants money back for all the money he has spent now on campaigns and ads going against Biden when now the candidate has changed. And again, I'm here to play devil's advocate because I always like to put myself in the other person's shoes, okay? And that's what happens when you've been treated like shit a lot and you've been a simp. So you tend to be mindful or overly mindful, even if it's Donald Trump. Can we keep it real and say it is fucked up that the candidate changed and now you've spent all your ad spend, marketing money on the wrong candidate? Just keeping it real.
It's wild.
How would you feel?
It's I mean, it's definitely not fair, that's for sure. But this is politics. It's not fair. Maybe the Democrats finally learned how to play politics because whatever you want to say, whatever side of the aisle you're on, the Democrats have not been good at politics the last 4 to 8 years or whatever. With
Terrible.
whether it comes to Supreme Court justices and Senate, et cetera, like making policies, things getting done, they have not been good at it. Like when they've had a president for 4 years and they lost their biggest issue, which was Roe v. Wade, um, that means you're doing something wrong, right? And obviously that happened with the courts, and that comes with playing politics poorly, right? And that goes back to the whole RBG decision, her not stepping down. I mean, there's a bunch of things that happened, and maybe this is the new Democrats where they're playing dirty and trying to get a stronghold in a way they couldn't before.
And the rarity of these events happening, an attempted assassination, all in 1 week, incumbent president not seeking re-election hasn't happened since Lyndon B. Johnson after JFK's assassination. And both events happening in 1 week in 2024. And you've seen the memes like, I just want to live through precedented times.
And then don't forget the trifecta if Biden does die in the next week, which is like not off the table. Again, I don't wish these things on anyone.
I don't want anyone to die. We don't want anyone to die.
I'm just telling you what I'm reading and what the news is saying, or when I say news, various people
What
have been talking
everyone
about.
inside, what the insiders are saying.
Yeah, his health seems to be deteriorating a lot, and everything has been very shady and happening quickly, and very like a lot of subterfuge. So I don't know.
Well, I don't want to say I'm just watching this all unfold, kind of like you said, a reality show, but it's really what I'm doing at this point because I can't take anything seriously.
Well, that's why it's like I don't even know why people are getting so worked up about politics right now
People are
because it's
fighting for their lives for a
it's
politician.
it's summer. It's the time to do whatever you do in the
Enjoy
summer.
your life.
Go to Europe, go to the Hamptons, go wherever you're going. But like we don't even know who the candidates are going to be, right? We're still figuring it out. Like we had Trump versus Biden. We have no idea. Trump could step down. Trump could have a heart issue. Like Biden, we don't know if he's alive at this very moment. It's just, talk to me. I think our friend NKP in the chat said just like message me in November and we'll talk politics then.
Yeah, we're not talking politics till November, but we said that yesterday. And then today we have been exchanging notes and messages all day.
Yeah, because a lot's been happening. It's hard to not see it and not be around it, especially, if you live in the US.
Well, that's the other thing, right? Just constantly being a joke. And now this election is looking like an election in a third world country.
The third world countries are making fun of us. Did you see those kids in like Uganda or something?
They're wearing the Biden Harris t-shirt.
No, 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 no. Okay, well that's true. But there was a bunch of like kids in a village that reconstructed the Trump almost
Oh,
assassination.
I saw that. I saw that.
That was
Can
like
we talk
when
about people wearing the band-aids
wait,
on
I
their
actually
ears?
the ear band-aids.
The cult.
Oh my God. It's
Strange.
like it's like the red hat is so 2020 or 2016. It's like now you need the ear bandage, you know?
What do you think's gonna happen? We don't know. I don't think we can predict anything.
If I have to make a prediction,
EP
I think I'm not going to say who's going to die and not die, but I think Kamala Harris will be the
president.
acting president this summer.
I agree with you.
And that could mean anything. Summer officially ends September 20th or 21st. Sometime between now and then, I think she takes over.
And I guess, is there anything else you want to say? I mean, I think for me, I'm betting on the astrology.
I mean, at this point, like that's as good of a guess as anything, right? But what did the astrology say, right? Didn't they say that she would do well and then lose? I don't.
Do well and lose. That the election is going to go to Trump, but I think every day we're on alert with something new. I want to talk
That's the
about
thing is, I actually don't dislike Harris. Everyone's like, why do you dislike her? I'm like, I just want someone who can beat Trump. And I say this as someone who doesn't even have a party right now. I just don't want to deal with Trump anymore and hearing about him. And I actually look forward to the next election without Trump because then maybe if I'm like, hey, this Republican candidate's not that bad, I don't get yelled at, right? You can't say anything. And
can't say
that's the worst thing
anything.
about these Trump elections. You cannot say a thing except, oh my God, I love the person going up against Trump, right? And that's the only thing that's okay. And anything else, you're the worst person in the world.
And then a lot
That's
of
what I don't.
people are voting on these single issues. Like you're basing your entire vote on one issue.
Which is fine. You should do whatever makes sense. And I get it. Abortion's a hot button topic. But I also don't understand why like someone else's one issue is more important than your one issue, right? Like
Exactly.
you don't know what other one other person is going through. And I think even after 2020, or rather in 2016 when he first won, I was kind of like, you know what, the people who voted for him, like I get it. Like maybe for them, you know, they were living in the mines or whatever, the coal mines, and they lost their businesses and they hated the liberal elites and Clinton, Hillary, she's an extension of Obama and everyone else, right? I get it. Like I'm not, I think you have to be empathetic to people. Like you can't
Well,
just
that's what we're
project
trying to
your
do
own
here.
views.
I see the
And
comment
actually,
when people
uh,
trust each other. I'm like, dude, let people have their own beliefs.
right. And I think actually to that point, one thing we missed in our whole recap was it reminds me I actually read Hillbilly Elegy back in 2017 and I actually liked it.
Or a
I
voracious
actually said
reader.
I liked you can't say you like the book because oh you're a jerk. And I'm like, why? It's a book about a bunch of people living a life that I couldn't understand. I'm a technical liberal elite living in New York, growing up
We
on
have
the
a
Upper East,
charmed
Upper
life.
West Side. I don't understand that life. Whether you agree with JD Vance's politics, I thought it was an interesting story, right? Like,
Liked the
and
book, liked the movie.
it showed. I never saw the movie, but the book showed me why people voted for Trump. That was the entire reason. I don't care if it was well written or not. It was just interesting to me. And if I say that now in 2024, I get yelled at, and whatever. But this is why people like Trump win is because the left and the Democrats they just yell at you if you don't agree with their views.
And then the MAGA faction is just screaming MAGA frantically.
I don't even like MAGA. That's the whole point. This is
That's
my the
that's
first
what
thing
I'm
I said.
saying. You can't have a positive opinion about either party.
Bro, I'm getting yelled at for no opinion. I'm saying, oh, I'd like to abstain or vote third party or whatever, and I'm getting yelled at for that too. So you can't win. This is why politics is terrible. Like
I
imagine if someone just screamed at you all day for your favorite NBA team.
Yeah, I
Like,
that's what I'm getting in all my comments, people. And then when I agree on something a Trump supporter said, then I'm yelled at by the left. And then if I say the left side, it's like there are many topics on both sides that I agree with and understand because I didn't grow up with hillbilly, the hillbilly elegy
Elegy,
demographic,
yeah.
but I did go to a Christian school. I grew up in Miami with predominantly, Cubans and Latinos and a lot of different people. And so I understand their beliefs and why they believe what they believe. I get it. But a lot of people don't want to say, don't have empathy, which is what the perfect word is.
Yep. And I think like it's funny, everyone's like, "Oh, Trump is racist. He hates all non-white people." But you said it yourself, Latinos love Trump. I'm friends with so many Latin people, probably not as many as you. All of them love Trump and they hate the Democrats. And that's
Can
fine.
I say the elephant in the room? The Indians love Trump.
That was my next point.
Indians love Trump. Okay, it is what it is.
I
They
mean, JD Vance married an Indian woman.
jokes aside, whatever, like doesn't bother me, but let people believe what they want to believe in. Be peaceful, don't be violent. I don't know why everything has to be an argument. And none of
No,
us
but I don't want
control.
to be in
We're
an
the
argument.
sheeple.
Yeah. No, but it even gets to a point where you might send me a reel. I'm not going to say what reel you send me, but it was like a pretty well-known person who made a political statement. All I did was like it, no comment. And I got yelled at
And we
for
agreed with that
liking this.
person.
Yes. And I agree. I literally liked it. And I even said, oh, this is a person who does these funny rants. And I was like, whatever. And I said some of the things he said are true. And I got yelled at. And I was just like, this is why I don't want to talk politics with people. And like, leave me alone. I can't even maybe I don't want to go to Instagram anymore. Like, and then people are like, oh well, who are you voting for? It's like none of your effing business, or no one.
I experienced this brutally during the Hillary campaign. And I remember I was gung ho for Hillary. And I think we might have a similar experience where the media is all Hillary, Hillary, Hillary. And then at the end, you've got a Trump election, a Trump president. And so it's like, why don't we be cautious, respect
Mhm.
both sides, have some sort of a peaceful, healthy discussion? I don't know if that's possible. It's possible in our friend group. We have a mix of both, you know, beliefs, and we have people that aren't voting. I respect everybody.
Dude, not voting is fine, or voting for a third party is fine. Also,
We're
like,
gonna
if you're
get
in a
yelled at
weird,
for saying that.
but again, if you're in a non-swing state, why does it even matter? Like, my vote in a non-swing state does shouldn't matter to you, a third party, right? Like, I'm not even saying I agree with people yelling at the people in Pennsylvania, but at least you have like a leg to stand on, like, oh, your vote matters, this is this, like, let's stop pretending that we're in a real democracy. This isn't like voting for class president. No one's vote in New York or California matters. I'm sorry. Like, if you still think that, then grow up.
Well,
And I just feel like if I were to give advice to like a hardcore Democrat listening to this, just stop bullying people about their vote because it's actually driving people to the other side.
yeah, a
You
lot
or
of
having a
people.
nice discussion like, hey, I urge you to do this, blah blah blah. Like maybe this is not the time for this, and then it's a little softer than this rampant bullying.
And that's what happened last time. A lot of people just said they were going to vote for Hillary and then they didn't. And it was probably because they were bullied or they were scared. And so a lot of people aren't going to actually tell you, and they don't have to tell you, like you said, who they're voting for. It's no one's business.
Yeah. The other thing is, you sent a TikTok I watched earlier today about the voting demographics. Like since 2016, a lot of boomers and
Boomers have
older people
died.
have died, and two times as many of the dead boomers are now eligible to vote from Gen Z or something like that.
Yeah, the Gen Z, a lot of Gen Z who couldn't vote. It's like even now, millennials and Gen Z, I think
Mm-hmm.
the number was it 40 million, 40 and 41 million respectively. Like it's kind of equal, the number of Gen Z who can vote and the number of millennials that can vote. It's strange.
And then it's like does that block of voters, I think it even said a lot of them are in swing states, right? So what does that mean? Like, because based on everything you said, it sounds like Trump, the astrology girls think Trump's going to win or whatever, and it might be a repeat of 2016. But if we have all these new voters who are younger, um, and the old Trump MAGA boomers are gone, what does that mean?
Well, that's the thing. It's like the unknown. And I think that's where the Trump campaign is now panicking because A, they've spent all their money on these Biden ads, I guess. And now B, they chose JD Vance, who is far right, and they forgot about the women and the gays and Gen Z and everyone in the middle.
See, that's the thing. Is
Or
if
I don't want to
Harris,
say they forgot about them. They didn't give a shit about them. And they thought that they were just going to go again with the same play that they did in 2016, MAGA people. And it's not enough anymore. It's like the old ways of working are not going to work anymore.
yeah, and I just feel like it's it's just a simulation resetting again, and it's like, what are we gonna do about it? You know,
I just,
I'm bored.
I do want to say, how are you bored? This is exhilarating and crazy.
I
Or you're
mean,
tired.
I'm exhausted of all. It's like I feel like it feels like we just did this. You know,
Yeah. And now we're older.
yeah.
I do want to
But
say,
my my whole thing here is that I'm not anti anyone. I just feel like I hope Harris is the right choice to be Trump again, because then we never have to hear about Trump again. This isn't political. This is just what Trump is doing to people. I want the 2028 election to just be normal, where people can just support someone without being screamed at.
yeah. And then I do want to say for Biden, I feel like he didn't have a proper goodbye, but maybe that's because of whatever's actually happening in the background with regard to his health and condition. Maybe he's not able to actually speak and stand, who knows? But
He might have died a week ago. I don't know, a week ago, like
we
a few
don't
in the
know.
last five days. Let's say we have no idea.
I feel like he didn't get the proper recognition or like the going away party that you give a president. And that kind of, it did make me a little emo. I was thinking about it. And, he is going to go down in history as the president that was the vice president for the first Black president in America. And then he had the first female woman of color vice president. And now he will lead the way for the first non, what do you want? What do I say? The first woman of color president, because we don't know how
The,
it's going to
the
happen.
first woman, it would be the first, or if you, oh, sorry, candidate. You mean the first woman of color
Candidate.
candidate,
Yeah, I
and
didn't know how to
potentially the
word
first.
it because we both think she's going to be president and not really a
We have no
nominee.
idea. Um, but the also unfortunately one that couldn't finish his term from the looks of it.
But he's going to go down in history, change the game for so many people.
I mean, I like
I liked
Biden.
Biden.
I liked him. I voted for him. My only issue was just his age, and this. I mean, again, and Trump also same thing, age among other things. I've said it many times. We need an age limit, and I even said like I wanted Biden as a one-term president. That's what I wanted, because I knew that he wouldn't be able to do this for 8 years, right? And I wish he had just said that, and then maybe sometime last year, like, hey, this has been great, but I can't do a second term. We should have a proper open forum, um, and the people can pick the next one, and I will continue until January of 2025. And I think everyone will be cool with that.
I think it wasn't his say. I think he's got people behind him that he has to report to and people calling the
Yeah,
shots.
I'm not blaming him at this point. I'm blaming them, the
Them,
Democrats. But
whoever they
maybe
is.
this is part of their plan, right? They don't give a shit about what's right.
Any last
This
word?
this is why no one trusts the government, by the way. Like, The trust is completely gone. Like, remember all the Obama signs and hope and everything, and everyone was great. Even, even the Romney and McCain campaigns, those were kind of nice, and it's all gone now. There's no feel good. Like if either you're a super extremist or you're just feeling like crap all the time.
I think we're at a crossroads as a nation, regardless of who wins. I think this election is a turning point and the country's not going to be the same after. And I don't see it going well, regardless of who wins.
Wow. Well, I'm going to be in India for the election. My mom and dad were doing Diwali there, and I think my parents were like, "You should probably just come to India because there's no good results. Like, there's going to be rioting either way."
Yeah. I was in New York City during the first Hillary Clinton election, and there were riots. I remember walking home from work the next day. I didn't want to go to work the next day, but we went to work and there were riots. I was scared to go home.
Mm.
I was walking home and I was scared. And then I did the grab her by the pussy march.
Oh my God,
I
man,
wore the
that's right.
pussycats, did that. I did the whole thing. And now I'm very happy to be at home. I am, putting my mental health first, and I don't owe anyone an explanation for anything.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like other countries, obviously our elections are very politicized and public or whatever, but I don't know domestically in other countries that are similar to ours if there's this much vitriol between the two parties or the people that support them.
I haven't seen it. I mean, other countries, like we're talking, there's coups, actual coups and wars.
Right. I meant first world countries like
First
Canada
world
or whatever.
countries, yeah, they're not doing this.
People just vote and then they move on.
They
Like
move on.
this sucks. Like, and I remember when I lived in DC for college thinking this is irritating. And now I'm like gonna say this sucks. Like DC is a shit town. And I have no respect for the people over there. They're just the worst, the worst. That's why, they had the saying, drain the swamp. Start over. I want new people, I want fresh faces. I want 2028 to be like no one above the age of 55. Like get them all out.
And we'll talk about one last conspiracy theory by a TikToker named Official Josh Tolley. He says, what if this is a coup, a mastermind coup on both Trump and Biden? They want them both out. They're both too old. Both of them need to get the fuck out. That's a theory.
Well, they missed on Trump last week, and Biden. It seems that he's on his way out.
Any ideas for VP nominee?
I think it'll be
Not Gretchen.
whoever she thinks they have the best chance. I think Gretchen will not happen. I think two females on the same ticket,
No.
unfortunately, would be very difficult. I think Josh Shapiro is someone people keep talking
Yeah.
about because he's governor of a swing state, but there's issues with him. There's like a whole like Jewish thing, that's like Israel. That's like a whole issue as
Yeah.
well that we're not going to get into. But I know that's not something that the Democrats necessarily want to even talk about, because then the Israel thing comes up, and that's a whole bag of worms. I don't know if they have anyone right now. I don't even know if there's a betting market for that. But
No, there isn't.
I heard JB Pritzker is another one. So I don't know. They're floating names. Maybe that's the whole point of what's going to happen at the DNC is who's going to be her running mate. Because they've already, if everyone's just coalesced and said she's the person, then it's like, okay, who's going to run with her? You know,
I mean, I think she's announcing right now that she is the nominee. That's it.
she's the presumptive nominee. But again, I don't know what that means.
I don't know what anything means anymore. Nothing we learned in school has actually transpired.
Well, it's because I don't think our history books taught us about this, right? It's like that the meme that came out today. It's like
The AP
the history
question,
the history books in like 2075 are going to be crazy.
like your AP question is going to be what's happening right now.
Like you'll be sitting in the nursing home and your grandkids are gonna come to you and be like, "Hey, so what happened in 2024?" And you're like, "I'm gonna be honest, I don't know." And it's not because of the Alzheimer's I have. It's like it's still a blur.
We don't know. Well, thanks for your time. I know it's super late. It's about to be midnight.
Is it? No, it's actually about to be 1 a.m.
1
You're just
a.m.
on a
I don't know
you're
where
on
I am.
weird you're on weird Arizona time, which is like sometimes Pacific time, sometimes it's not.
I can't wait to get the fuck out of here. Counting the days. 3 more weeks.
I, every time I pod with you, I'm like, oh, this is our last pod with you in Arizona. But we had to sneak one more in, and maybe the next time you're back on East Coast time.
Can't wait. And thank you so much. And I respect your opinion. And I hope people enjoyed this. We did
I
it for
was to
you
say, I
guys.
hope we don't get canceled, even though we didn't say
Do we
anything.
care?
Like, even though I don't even think I said so many more crazy things on this pod. This is just kind of like okay, fine, conspiracy theories, but like I'm not supporting anyone right now. Like I'm very neutral.
I'm
I hate everyone equally. I'm an equal opportunity hater. Let's put it that way.
leaning towards Kamala, but I'm definitely not voting red.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.